What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Today I want to talk about a buddy of mine in prison. And I don't know if I told this story before. If I did, it had to be a long time ago. But I felt like telling it today. So this story is from when I first entered the CDC. When I first hit New Folsom. This was sometime in 1995. I've told you guys over and over, it's always been a habit of mine in prison, in jail, to gravitate towards the more seasoned convicts, guys that were connected, guys that had deep education so that I could learn from them because I knew I had a life sentence. I knew I was never going to get out, and I knew what my focus needed to be, right? But see, those older dudes, they're not the ones that were going to be clowning and bullshit. They were on a different wavelength, right? Wavelength, whatever we'll call it. And so I did have homies on the yard that were my age, and we were all starting together, and one of them was a homie by the name of Dreamer, right? And I remember one day I go out to the yard, and Dreamer's like, "Hey, did the home?" No, first he tells me, "Hey, let's spin a lap. I want to talk to you before the homies do." Right? And I'm like, "Uh-oh." Get on the track, and he's like, "Hey, Holmes, did the homies get at you?" Now that's a wide open question, right? So I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Have the homies asked you if you're willing to put in any work?" I said, "Oh yeah, yeah." And he goes, "What'd you tell him?" I said, "I told him, yeah, of course, I'm here." And he goes, "Well, they barely came around my building and they asked me." I said, "Well, what you tell him?" "You told him, yeah, right?" He goes, "Hell no." I told him no. I said, "What the fuck?" I said, "What the fuck you tell him that for?" And he ran me down his story that he had 35 to life for something that somebody else in his neighborhood did. And that other person took the stand in his case and admitted to everything, and that the DA didn't believe him and still found him guilty, and that he has his case in the courts. He's on an appeal, this and that. And I swear I'm listening to him, but if you guys watch Charlie Brown movies, when like when the teacher talks and all you hear is wah, 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 that, like I'm hearing him, but I'm hearing Charlie Brown's teacher at the same time. Like, I can't believe that a dude that I'm kicking it with on a daily basis is telling me that he said no, right? So I hear him out, and I said, after he was done, I was like, "Hey, Holmes, man, fuck your appeal. What are you thinking, eh?" And he's like, "Nah, I get it. Like, if you don't want to fuck with me no more." I was like, "Homie, you put a target on your back. Like, you're thinking of stuff outside of the walls, eh? That stuff it's no longer relevant. Like, they didn't ask you, 'Hey, will you do a pegada tomorrow?' They just asked if you're willing, homie. And the fact that you say no, but you're sitting here and you're taking up a bunk on the yard, like that don't look right, Holmes. That don't sound right. And I don't think that's gonna work out for you. If they would have said, 'Hey, Holmes, are you willing?' You said, yeah. And then tomorrow they say, 'Hey, Holmes, when we got at you,' then you say, 'Hey, Holmes, look, I'm down to do whatever, but can I at least, see what's up with my appeal?' Like, you could have done it that way, Holmes, but to straight out tell the pad, like, 'Nah, Charlie, I'm not doing nothing for you, but I'm going to expect you guys to ride for me if I get into it,' is basically what you're doing. I'm not willing to do nothing for you, but I'm willing to sit here and take up a bunk. And if I get into something with another faction, I expect you to back me up." I said, "That's what you're saying, Holmes." He goes, "Nah, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not going to get into it." I said, "Man, you don't get it." And, not too long after that, I had to cut ties. I put him at a distance because I was like, I couldn't understand it whatsoever, right? He worked in the kitchen, and there was a ugly woman that worked in that kitchen. That was the chow hall cop, right? Their boss. Well, she was having sexual relations with one of Dreamer's coworkers, right? And this dude, I don't know what he was thinking. He thought he was on the streets and could. One day, him and her go into the office, and they you know, they're doing their thing, and I don't know what she did that he didn't like, but this dude smacks her, bam, and gives her a black eye, right? Little thing on her eye. So when she's leaving work, they said that the central control asked her, "Hey, what happened to your eye?" And she tried to say, "Oh, I came in here like this." And the cop was like, "I don't think you did." But you know, it's a different shift now. And she's like, "No, I came in with this," you know, and gave whatever excuse she gave. She went home. Well, now after this dude was asked if he would be willing to help the pad out, and he says no, his boss and her dude or whatever she consider him, another incident occurs, and they're in the office doing whatever they're doing, and he smacks her again and leaves another mark on her. And when she went to leave the institution that night, Central Control was like, "Hey, what's going on with your face?" "Oh, I came in." No. Ever since the last time, we weren't sure, but we've been watching you. You did not come in with any marks on you. It was documented the way you came in. And long story short, she wouldn't say who did anything to her, but she said she was assaulted. And because she wouldn't say, they sent everybody on that crew to AdSeg. Dreamer was one of them. And at the time, C facility in New Folsom, I've told stories about this, had a curfew. And you could only be on that yard at that time up until 2000. Remember, this is 95. You could only be on that yard 9 months for the Southerners. And that was very lenient. You never heard of any other place where you could be somewhere that long, right? If it was, you know, a question mark on the yard. He went to AdSeg, the whole, and when he went to committee, he was told he was going to C facility. And when he came back, he told the fellas, "Hey, I'm going to go to C yard, and I'm going to do my time." And I remember the dude sent me a kite. Somebody came from AdSeg, and they're like, "Here, this is for you," and it was him. And he wished me well. And he told me, no matter what people say, you know, this and this and that, and, you know, but I'm going to C yard and I'm staying there. And I remember thinking to myself, how do you do that? Like, how do you, like, all these dudes, like, this was such a cool ass dude, man. And he was never asked to do anything. And was just like, nah, fuck that. Fuck what everybody's going through. I ain't sacrificing for nobody. When I think back, I don't remember anyone else ever being like that. Everybody was so gung-ho to put in work. As I look back on it now, from a different mindset, I see that his priorities were right. His priorities were his family, his freedom, and himself. It's just, I still trip out on it. Because there was no way that at that age, I could have made the same decision whatsoever. That's my story for today. It doesn't really have a message. It's just a story that I thought of today. And I said, you know what? I want to tell this story. It's very rare that someone at that young of an age would be willing to sacrifice every single thing for their freedom, because 99.9%, 99.9999 infinity percent in there, they're trying to put in work. They're never thinking about anything outside of the walls. I hope he went home. I remember hearing that he got jumped on. He became a victim. That's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out of here.